Everything's inspired by the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So our topic today is restoration is coming. We all face what we consider losses and setbacks in life that we don't understand why they happened. And when we go through these losses and disappointments, it's so tempting to get discouraged and to think, oh, that's the way it's always going to be. I never get the lucky breaks. I get the short end of the stick. Our message today is that God is a God of restoration. Doesn't mean that He's going to stop every loss, prevent every difficulty, or keep us from every challenge. But He does promise that He will restore what we lost, not just restore it, but pay us back double if we keep in a good attitude and pass the test. Yashaham anugraham harishe tad danam sanayi. Sometimes when hardships come our way, losses come our way, it's God's special mercy upon His devotees to pry them away from something temporary that they're leaning on too hard. Do you know what is another name for something temporary that you're leaning on too hard? Can anyone guess?
The crux.
It's called idol worship. Whether it be your bank balance, your retirement, or even your family, or your gun collection, your political party, if you're leaning overly hard on any of those temporary things, when they are taken away, what's going to happen to you? Yeah, you're going to fall on your face. So sometimes Krishna will take away our material opulences, that thing that we think about more than we think about God. Sometimes He takes it away, so then we'll think more about God than we did think about that thing. And to us it may seem a loss, a setback, but it's God's way of getting us back on track and keeping us marching forward, back to home, back to Godhead. But when these reverses happen, Krishna allows the hardship with the purpose of restoring us to a greater level of honor. It's a setback, but it's really a setup for a comeback. Not to make you miserable, not to destroy your life, but to take you to the next level, to a level of glory and honor. If you pass the test, keep a good attitude, keep smiling when there's nothing really to smile about, Krishna will make everything up to you with interest. Remind yourself in the tough times, this is not the last chapter in your story. That loneliness, that bad break, the anxiety, that's not your destiny. God didn't create you for those things. Better is coming, joy is coming, more meaningful relationships are coming. Ultimately, the entirety of the spiritual world is in store for each and every one of those who keeps God first place. That client you lost, that reverse in your finances, that unfair childhood, that government being shut down, none of that is more powerful than God. None of that can stop His purpose for your life. In fact, many times, these are stepping stones to a greater level of purpose, a greater level of favor, a greater level of influence. Setbacks, in fact, can be recognized by the God-centered person as the greatest opportunities for spiritual growth. When you go through a tough time of testing, you come out the other end, it gives you a confidence and an enthusiasm for the next test, the next mountain that you're going to climb. Now, Maya, whose job it is to keep us revolving in the cycle of birth and death in this material world, she'll whisper into your ear, you don't have what it takes. Maybe you had it once, but now you've lost it. Your best days are behind you. The best you can hope for is to just sit on the sidelines of life from here on in. Maya's trying to get you stuck in a rut, make you doubt your God-given abilities, cause you to back off from the greatness of your destiny. And when you hear that accusing voice whispering in your ear, just recall your history. Recall all the times that the Lord has snatched you from the jaws of defeat to hand you the laurel wreath of victory. When you're in doubt, keep this phrase in your mind. Greater is coming. God did not bring you this far just to leave you. He would not have allowed that to come into your life if it wasn't going to do something to bring your character up higher, if it wasn't going to help you reach your destiny. He says, these light afflictions are for but a moment, and they are working in us an eternal glory. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The trouble is not permanent. The trouble is temporary. The key is, don't get stuck, focused on the suffering. Don't dwell on the doubts. Stay focused on the glory that's coming. Yes, it may be rough now. Life may have dealt you an unfair hand. But our message today is that suffering is not in vain. It's serving a purpose, leading you to greater honor, favor, greater victories. I love the attitude of King Yudhishthira, the eldest of the 5 Pandava brothers, as described in the great epic, the Mahabharata. Yudhishthira said, in essence, to Krishna, Krishna, God, you've caused myself and my brothers to suffer much hardship. Now, he could have stopped there, put a full stop and a period at the end of the sentence, and then rehearsed and gone over and over again, all the bad breaks, all the unfair things that happened to you. Krishna, I don't understand it. Why did we get cheated at dice? Why is Duryodhana so envious of us? Why do we have to go into exile for 13 years? Yudhishthira did none of that. In effect, he said, Krishna, yes, not denying that we've had a lot of bad breaks, and not denying that we've gone through suffering, but I know this, that this will restore us to a greater honor than we had before. I'm thanking you in the midst of the difficulties. I'm thanking you in the dark. I'm thanking you when things don't look good. That's the key to getting the special favor of God. When you're in the tough times, you can either talk about how big your problem is, or you can talk about how big your what is? God is. Yeah. If you're going to see the greater, you have to do like Yudhishthira, right in the middle of the difficulty. Start declaring restoration is coming. Yes, the medical report may not look good, but while you're taking the treatment, you're declaring, Krishna, God, thank you that my health will be restored. Thank you that I will live the full number of my days in your service. Thank you that this depression, this anxiety, this tension and fear has come only to pass. It's temporary, not permanent. In the middle of the battle, declare, Krishna, God, thank you that greater is coming. During the 13 years that the Pandavas spent in exile in the forest, one sage named Maitreya visited them, and he sat down with King Yudhishthira. He said these words, as far as you and your brothers are concerned, you are virtuous, and you have been brought into this earth, as all of us have, to fulfill God's specific purposes for your life. You're great devotees. You have never faltered. You have never been faithless to the Lord. You've kept in first place. Therefore, what's happening to you is not ordinary karma. It's not the ordinary randomness of destiny. This is God's hand. This apparent setback by God's arrangement and through your faithfulness will ultimately lead you to everlasting fame and happiness. And who can doubt the truth of that statement? Because we're glorifying Yudhishthira 5,000 years later in Spanish Fork, Utah. Or is it Salem? Anyway, I'll let you make that call. Maitreya's forecast, even though they were disenfranchised, living off of roots and herbs in the depths and the darkness of the forest, Maitreya predicted, because of your attitude in the middle of the circumstances, your name and fame will be sung for thousands and thousands of years. God never promises that there won't be suffering in our life. He never promises that we'll understand everything that happens to us. That's not realistic. But we are saying the suffering is not permanent. It will come, to be sure, to all of us. But you can also count on the fact that as it came, it will go. As it comes, it will pass. In other words, the suffering did not come to stay. It came to make us and mold us, leaving us better off than we were before. And this is a feature of God. He never starts something and leaves it unfinished. He starts something and he will stick to it until it's finished. But here's the key as far as our individual cases are concerned. If you want to see the greater, you have to do your part and thank him, praise him during the suffering, in the middle of the difficulty. And I'd like to tell you that all this will come just by being positive. But it's not, it's more than that. It's actually trusting the Lord from the depths of your heart and being excited, anticipating what's going to come afterwards, the double, the restoration. Prabhupada, our spiritual master, had sent one of his American disciples out into the jungles. Vrindavan is the place where Krishna appeared, our version of Bethlehem. He appeared 5,000 years ago. But this particular area of Vrindavan, where we've been donated a little bit of land, Prabhupada's idea was to build a temple. Vrindavan was a nice little city of about 50,000 people, 5,000 temples. But the land was land that was way out in the country. It was overrun with spiders and snakes, and there were even robbers in the area. So this 20-year-old American disciple from San Francisco, from Haight-Ashbury City out there in the middle of this field, and he's writing back to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you want me to build a temple in this location? I don't know if this is the right place, the right time, or if I'm the right person to do it. Prabhupada wrote him back a letter. He says, my dear Guru Das, go on and develop this very important Vrindavan center with full enthusiasm, and do not be discouraged by any temporary setbacks. Always work in the spirit of being completely dependent upon Krishna for everything. I shall return to India by October. What Prabhupada was saying to Guru Das is, yes, it's bad now, but don't get stuck in the badness. Don't live bitter because you seem to have gotten trapped in the jungle with a seemingly impossible task. Don't settle in this depression thinking that you've been sidelined. Keep an attitude of faith. Go through this trouble. Keep believing when every thought tells you it's never going to change. Keep talking like it's going to happen when nothing is improving. Keep speaking Krishna's favor even when it seems like you're wasting your time. That suffering is a test, an opportunity to show God that you're not going to easily give up, to be easily discouraged, to easily give up on your dreams, to easily lose your passion. Finally, after, granted, a lot of difficulties in the passage of time, that center opened up on that land in 1974. At the time, it was in a remote area outside of the city, but the city has grown right now, so it can be said to be centrally located. It's one of the most popular of the 5,000 temples in Vrindavan. From the year it opened, every year during the month of Kartik, which is ending in 3 days, more than 7,000 devotees from China, from Russia, from South America, they congregate and they stay there for the entire month. After you've suffered a little while, it is promised by the Lord that He Himself will come, restore you, strengthen you, establish you. God has already called each and every one of us to live not a defeated, not a frustrated, not a depressed life, but a victorious life. And in order to achieve the victorious life that God has called us for, you know very well that you're going to have to overcome obstacles on the way to your destiny. But know this, the creator of the universe, he chose you before you could choose him. There are forces that are trying to stop you, but those are no match for the all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has already called you, who has already written out the plan for your life. This is a quote from Prabhupada. Okay, Krishna doesn't like his sincere devotees to suffer or become frustrated or depressed. He will not stand by idly in such a case, so do not fear on that account. Krishna's got some plan for you. Always think in that way, and very soon he will provide everything to your heart's desires. That means Krishna will personally take care of those who are putting him first place. He himself will come down to bring about the restoration. He won't send the demigods, he won't send Indra, he won't send Ganesh, he won't ask Shiva to do it, but Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, will himself take charge of his devotee, turn things around, personally heal, personally promote, personally deliver. Now, many of you have passed the test. You've been doing the right thing, suffering with a smile, praising through the pain, worshiping instead of worrying. So our message is, get ready, greater is coming, restoration is coming. Krishna is about to do a new thing. Problems that look permanent are going to turn around. Dreams that look too far gone are going to come to pass. The right people, divine connections are going to find you. Restoration is coming. The enemy, your critics, those backstabbers at the office, they thought that they were pulling you back. They didn't realize that when you pull a bow and an arrow back, the further you pull the arrow back, the more forcefully it's going to launch out with more velocity and go further. So those who are trying to stop you, hold you back, they don't realize that they're actually launching you further and faster towards your destiny. The fact is that you can't become who you were created to be without the struggle, without the risk, without the disappointment, without the brokenness. It's uncomfortable. We don't like it, but just keep reminding ourselves of today's theme. Restoration is coming. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In a small little pottery workshop in the mountains of Japan lived a master craftsman. He was known for his extraordinary skill in kintsugi. That's an ancient art form meaning golden joinery. Involved repairing broken pottery with lacquer, dusted, mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. And unlike most repairs that attempt to hide the damage, the brokenness, the flaws, kintsugi celebrates the breakage, highlights the mends as part of the object's history and value. One day, a young woman brought him her grandmother's favorite tea bowl. It was a cherished family heirloom passed down generation after generation. Now it may lay shattered in 100 different pieces. She was crying in sorrow, believing that the bowl was beyond repair, its beauty forever lost. She says, "Master, can anything be done?" He examined the fragments. He didn't see broken pieces. He saw the potential for a new kind of beauty, a better beauty. And he started his meticulous work, painstakingly fitting each piece together, using a special urushi lacquer derived from tree sap to bind them together, a slow, deliberate process requiring immense patience. And once the lacquer had set, several more layers, sanding each one smooth, then finally came the magic. With a delicate brush, he applied a fine powder of gold leaf along every cracked seam. Those dull, gray cracks were transformed into shimmering rivers of gold, tracing the story of the bowl's history. When the young woman returned, she couldn't believe her eyes. She gasped in pleasure. That tea bowl was not just repaired, it was reborn better than it had been before. Those golden lines, far from being flaws, accentuated its form, giving it a one-of-a-kind elegance. An elegance it had not, in fact, possessed before. Testimony to resilience, a visible declaration that its brokenness had not diminished it, but made it more precious and beautiful. Krishna, I believe you're bigger than this fracture, greater than this depression, more powerful than this opposition. There is nothing fractured, broken, that you can't bring it back, restore it better than the original. And I know this, Krishna, that you being for me is worth more than the whole world, should it be against me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What are we doing? We're stirring up the praise, stirring up the faith, speaking victory over our lives, thanking God that He's fighting our battles, that this too shall pass, that restoration is coming. Another story quickly here. Sir Ernest Shackleton set out with a group of men on a trans-Antarctic expedition between 1914 and 1917. It's one of the greatest examples of attitude and courage defeating what should have been certain loss and death. Their ship got socked in by ice. His goal originally was to cross the Arctic continent, but his ship, which was named the Endurance, right away became trapped in an unseasonable, thick, multi-year ice pack on the Weddell Sea. After months of being frozen in spot, pressure of the ice finally cracked the hull of the ship. Shackleton and his crew were forced to abandon the Endurance while they watched it sink. Here they were, stranded on a massive sheet of ice, 1,000 miles away from civilization, with limited supplies, sub-zero temperatures, no radio. They were, by all practical calculations, doomed. Their initial goal, crossing the Antarctic, was impossible. Now, their challenge was simply to survive. Stapleton knew that the greatest threat to the men was not the cold, but giving up. But giving in to what seemed to be an impossible circumstance. He had to maintain for himself a role of leadership, a courageous and focused attitude to keep his crew alive for what ended up being a year on that ice pack. He implemented a routine of duties, sports, reading to keep their minds engaged, and he was meticulous about keeping the men busy and not allowing pessimism to take root. Eventually, the ice floe in which they'd been living for a year broke apart, and it forced the men into small lifeboats. They spent 5 brutal days in the treacherous sea to reach the uninhabited, frozen Elephant Island. No rescue was ever going to find them. He chose 5 men for a nearly impossible mission to sail one of those open lifeboats across 800 miles of the world's stormiest ocean to the whaling stations on South Georgia Island. This required navigating hurricane speed winds and monstrous waves for 17 days. Against all odds, they successfully made the open journey, but they landed on the uninhabited side of the island South Georgia, meaning that they had another trial ahead of them. Shackleton, with 2 of his men, made the first ever crossing of South Jordan's mountainous, glacier-covered interior, an act of exploration that had never been achieved before in order to reach the whaling station. His positive attitude, relentless courage, never give up attitude saved every single member of his 27-man crew, not the loss of a single life. It is said that his leadership qualities are still studied today. A survivor, a person who realized that the battle is not a physical battle, the victory or defeat is achieved in the mind, in the psychology. And he saw the setback as an opportunity for a setup. He could have been complaining, but with that same energy, he was thanking God that he was still alive, still able to move. He had a good attitude, and he knew the art of laughing right in the midst of his troubles. We may not have to cross the Antarctic or live on an ice floe for a year, but we do have to learn to dig down, dredge up, find a good attitude, draw a line in the sand and say, I am not going to let this bad break, this disappointment, this loss, this injustice steal my joy and sour my life. If you have this, never give up. God's hands attitude. God will do for you what he did for many others of faith. One day you're going to say, nothing is missing from my life. It looked like the Arctic was going to get my men, but I brought all 27 home safely. Or you'll say, like Yudhisthira, I lost my kingdom, but after 13 years, Krishna restored twice what I had before. We all have unfair things happen to us. People come against us, rejections, betrayals, ice storms, if you will, in our lives. It is tempting to get discouraged. Krishna, why did this happen? Why did these people push me out? Why was my daughter born with this illness? Some things we're just not going to understand. Don't try to figure out all the whys of life. It's just going to frustrate you. The good news is that God knows how to work all things for your good. Initially, it may be not good. Taken separately, it may be not good, but he knows how to bring it out for good in the end. We have to do our part, go through the suffering with a good attitude, knowing that restoration is coming. It may not happen in my way, on my timetable, but I do know that God is faithful. I do know that in good time, my time is coming. In good time, I'm going to see the hand of God take me to where I could not go on my own. We've all been through suffering. We've all been through bad breaks. But if you've kept in first class, our message today is get ready. Restoration is coming. Restored health. Future victories. Daring rescues. Unprecedented freedom. Those challenges were not there to stop you. They're there to show Krishna or God what you're made of. They're there to promote you. And in fact, the more the situation seems hopeless, the more people have written you off, the more likely he is to show his power by turning things around in your favor. Yes, he will bring darkness, but that will be followed by the dawn. Yes, he will bring ice, but beauty, honor, restoration comes next. Just do your part. Honor the supreme mystic. Get excited. Get ready. The best is yet to come. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I declare this is a new day for those who faithfully honor the Lord. Things are shifting in your favor. Krishna is saying to you today what he said to Yudhisthira. You're going to get everything back. Restoration is coming. Your dreams are coming. Your joy is coming. What you thought was broken beyond repair is going to be restored. It's going to be twice as good as it was before. All the desires of your heart are coming fully and abundantly in this life, next life. You go back to home, back to Godhead. Well, thank you very much for your kind attention. And if any of this resonated with you, you're welcome to raise your arms and we can all say it together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,